Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to work on a rather unusual problem that occurs with this Penn Level Wind 9 fishing reel. And well, what's the problem? The problem is that the reel runs fine forward, but according to Robert, when you go to cast, it gets stuck. It's getting stuck right there, which is very, very odd. So we're going to try and do a process of elimination here and see what we can find. Most of the time, a problem like that is going to be related either to the tracking in the worm gear, or it's going to be related to the drives in the gear itself. And I'm thinking, this is a hypothesis, I don't know for certain, but I am thinking that the problem is going to be with a worn idler gear, perhaps a partially broken tooth that is lodged in a way that when the gears are turning forward, there's no issue, but when it's turning backwards, there is. I don't know. This is kind of an odd one. So I'm going to start by, well, again, it's going to be a process of elimination. Let's take the assembly off and turn it as if it was going to cast, which is kind of backwards. It seems to be doing just fine. I don't think there's any problems in the tracking there. Doesn't seem like there is. Okay. Well, there is one there. There's a little tightness going on there. So first thing we'll do is we'll take another worm gear, put that in there and see if the same thing occurs. And we're just going to keep changing pieces and parts out until we identify what the issue is. So take that worm gear out, put another one in, make sure I have this going the right way. Sometimes these tracks where they get turned become the issue. And that's usually because the points on the pawl damage them. They get trapped and damage them. And I can see even on this one there's a little bit of wear there. But something is probably causing that as well. So let's just put this in for a moment, see if we can't get this one back with the changed worm gear. These are the kinds of things that they're quirks. They don't happen a lot. And sometimes you just have to have a handful of pieces and parts to change. Now, fortunately, I have a good amount of pieces and parts for this reel. And so you'll see as I reach into the basket, I'll pull another part that may be responsible for this issue. And go from there. All right, so this is the regular crank mode. Now we're looking at kind of reversing. All right, well, I'm not noticing anything crazy here. All right, so let's say for a moment that was it. Let's put it back in and see if the same issue occurs. And while I'm doing that, if you enjoy these types of videos, if you like to understand how fishing reels are made and serviced and well, how to diagnose some problems from time to time, how to take them apart, how to service them, how to get them running again, then I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe, please use that notification button. I do encourage you to subscribe. There's an awful lot of folks that watch these videos on a regular basis, and yet they remain unsubscribed. It kind of drives me to ask why, but sometimes not. Okay, so this is the forward rotation. And then we go into casting rotation, and it's getting stuck there again. Unusual. Okay, so I'm going to shut the camera off. I'm going to go get another identical reel because the next thing I want to make sure of is that they have the proper line guide, because there's two different line guides. One has a long extension on one side, the other has a long extension on the other. And I want to make sure that we're using the right one. All right, well, I went to my bins and I found a Penn 9. This is this reel. It seems to have a functional line guide on it. It needs to be cleaned up. It's on my to-do list, if you will. Let's put this in gear. Make sure that this one is spinning the way it should. It is. So what we want to do now is, even though we've tested the other one and it seems to be okay, we're going to take this one out and substitute it for the one that is having the issue. Again, as I mentioned, I seem to see a little bit of scarring going on in that one track. So let's see if this makes a difference. Insert that in. You probably noticed that I just flipped the switch. That helps to seat that back end, that square section there. And then when you put this in, you want to make sure that your square, you're in the slot and you're into the side of this screw cap here. Okay. So this is the replaced one. Let's go forward. It's working. Now the important one, spin it as if you're casting. This is where it was hanging before. Okay, so far, I think we've got it to the point now where it's the worm drive, this one. But let's be sure. Let's take the line guide off of this one because it's in nicer condition. Now, if you really wanted to go full out, just take this and put it in the other reel and see if it fails. I suspect it does. Let me give it a try. That'll help. Now, there's 3 components in this one. There's the worm gear, there's the line guide arm, and there's the pawl. So we don't know which one's failed, do we? We know that I see a little bit of evidence of scarring in the tracks. But how did that track get scarred? Was it a bad pawl? You really don't know unless you do subsequent testing. Let's take the one from the other reel, put it in here, bring that over. And this is, of course, if you have the luxury of having a second similar reel, or if you just have a deep knowledge that, yeah, that's what happens all the time kind of thing, right? In this case, I have enough to know, but it doesn't hurt to kind of do this. You're going to do process of elimination regardless of whether it's you have one that can be substituted out or not. The difference being that you're just going to have to kind of use the pieces and parts rather than assemblies. Let's give it a see. Interesting. All right. Well, this is a little tight here. It may be in the bend of the line guide. Move this back just a little bit. Put this in the gear. Yeah, this one's clearly struggling. And when this came in, this was out of the groove. So I think what we're going to maybe come across with, yeah, this is having a hard time turning. I think what we're going to come across with is this bend in this line guide. It could be wrong. Well, if it is, it's not terribly out of shape. But it's unusual. You know what? I think we're just going to just go with that complete substitution there. Because this is doing what it should be doing. Now, earlier I serviced the whole reel, but I thought maybe what we would do here is to try and figure it out. So what we can do, let's just go back over this one. Since something's not right with this, we'll take you through the rest of the components here. The piece is hanging up. And the question, why is it hanging up, is what we're trying to answer here. You have 3 or 4 components in this. I just want to review those for a moment. Well, if you like these videos, have any questions about this reel, or any reel, just leave those questions in the comments section. And we'll try to address those questions for you. Let's just do the anatomy of this. All right, so what is this? This has got a worm gear with a lot of tracks. It has a ferrule and a line guide arm. It has a pawl which has 2 points on it. Those points are what's going to ride in these tracks and help it move. And it's got a cap that facilitates the back and forth movement. It holds that pawl in place. So any one of these 4 pieces could be the issue, since we know now that we have one that, when we replace the entire assembly, works correct. So one of the things I'm thinking about, because it's getting trapped, is that this may have gotten bent, probably bent outward, and when you try to put it back in the way it is, it's catching, and that's what's causing it to stick. A second one that I identified over here, how do you like that? Just put it in backwards. On this side, is that there's wear on one of the tracks, which means something got trapped in there, right here. Something got trapped in there, and sometimes your pawl cannot make the full revolution if that track is damaged. So we can see that that's a possibility. And then finally, the pawl itself could be damaged. It might have a missing tooth. That usually results in the line guide just bouncing back and forth on one side. It'll usually get to the point where it needs to turn, and then it'll stop moving. Now, there are other components in the line guide system, particularly on the back end of this. There is an idler gear, which takes the energy from the spool that's driving it, transfers it to the worm gear drive, and in that case, the worm gear is turned by this square side here. And when I was looking at this, I was thinking, well, it could be any of those others, but let's just do the exchange first. And I don't know which part it is here, quite honestly. I'm thinking, leaning towards this being bent. There is some damage on the track. The pole looks okay, the cap looks okay, the carrier looks okay. So right now this is running the way it should, so we're just going to substitute that part, and we'll leave the mystery as to what's causing that kind of on its own. Now if you wanted to continue this, you could. We can pull out the old one, swap the line guide, and that'll help you to say it's either the line guide or the track if you put the poles in. But right now it's running the way it should. We're just going to kind of leave it at that. Wow, well, sometimes you learn from these. Most of the time you learn from these. And you put that into your collective knowledge so that the next time you either see a reel that maybe you're considering purchasing, or something happens to the reel that you own, then the next time through, you can say, oh, I know what that is, or I can at least identify it and bring it down to a certain level in terms of what I should be looking at, and eliminate some of the other ones. That's kind of the way you do real problem diagnostics. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Before I leave, I want to take a moment to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in this public service and keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank you for watching. Again, I want to encourage you to subscribe, and I want to wish you a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.